CTV News with Maya Johnson.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Heavy rain this summer has already wreaked havoc for many Quebecers, and the weather woes continue. Torrential rain in the Laurentians has caused landslides and washed out roads, leaving some residents trapped on their own properties. In the community of L'Ascension, about 60 kilometers north of Mont-Tremblant, they've declared a state of emergency. Here's Geneviève Beauchemin.
And this is the main road in the town of L'Ascension, a town of 900 people. This is the fire station here, and right across is what's happened. The entire road has collapsed. People here are leaning on one another as they face widespread damage. Some have been left without electricity, without drinking water, and some are trapped in their homes by landslides and road collapses.
It was absolutely stunning to see the damage done in such a short period.
Penny Arn is hunkering down in her cottage. Roads leading up to her property have been washed away, sections of asphalt ripped up.
People who've been here 30, 40 years, they're like, we've seen storms and, you know, the lake come up and whatnot, but this has not been seen.
105 millimeters of rain poured down on the region from Sunday to Monday, triggering a cascade of destructive events. Jocelyn Larose says she has never seen anything like it. I've lived here for 20 years and my husband is now stuck in a cottage he can't get out, she says. Rivers filled up and breached their banks. Half the village is now completely inaccessible from the other half. Other towns in the region, too, took a massive hit. And this was just the latest in a series of destructive storms that have swept through Quebec over the past few weeks. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, L'Ascension, Quebec.
Meanwhile, here on the island of Montreal, residents of Pierrefonds-Roxborough say the borough isn't doing enough after hundreds of homes were flooded in June. Many were at last night's borough council meeting demanding answers, but as Denise Roberts explains, it's complicated.
On June 20th, Victor Knowlton's backyard oasis suddenly turned into a babbling brook as water came sprouting up from the ground.
They're not really geysers, but we have water coming out of the ground in 4 different places.
It was too much water for his 5 pumps to handle, and they called the fire department for help.
They came in our backyard, said they had never seen anything like that before, and condemned it. They thought there was going to be a sinkhole and a landslide.
Today, the ground has dried, but evidence of the ordeal remains. Knowlton says he's applied for help from the borough, and like many others on his street, he's still waiting. Joseph Fong moved here 1 year ago and said he did his due diligence.
We was like, okay, this is not the flood zone, nowhere near the flood zone, nowhere near the edge of the island.
But on June 20th, when 150 millimeters fell in a matter of hours, water destroyed his basement anyway. At Monday night's Borough Council meeting, the first since the flood, residents gathered inside and outside to express their frustration.
If folks, if you can just let me finish, please.
Jim Bass said while he understands residents are upset, he's limited in what he can say due to a class action lawsuit.
The reality that we face here this evening, not because we don't want to say what we want to say, but because we're limited in our interventions because of a class action suit, unfortunately limits us in what I can tell you.
The applications for the class action lawsuits have not yet been approved. And even if they are, the entire process could take years to resolve. In the meantime, residents now have to decide whether it's worth it to rebuild.
Not until we find out where the water is actually coming from.
I'm taking my time because I want to know, okay, well, what can I do to minimize the damage for the potential next time?
Fearing it's a matter of when, not if. Denise Roberts, CTV News.
The Canadian Army has been called to a Quebec campground after a grenade was found on site. The campsite is close to Lac Cristal near L'École. Nobody is allowed to leave the site while the explosives team carries out its operation. The Montreal Police Arson Squad has taken over an investigation into a fire at a mosque in Côte-de-Neige. A truck parked near the mosque caught fire overnight on Friday. Flames spread to the mosque, causing significant damage. Police say the fire has not been deemed criminal, but firefighters weren't able to determine the cause, triggering an automatic transfer to the Arson Squad. Montreal police are asking for the public's help identifying a suspect in an attempted murder. In May, a 49-year-old man was stabbed repeatedly on Perras Boulevard in Rivière-des-Prairies. The circumstances surrounding the attack are still unclear, but today police released images of a suspect. According to police, the suspect is a black man, approximately 6'1" to 6'4", and has shoulder-length dreadlocks. Police are offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. The construction holiday was a deadly one on Quebec roads. Provincial police say there were 15 fatal crashes and 18 people were killed. Speed, distracted driving, or impairment were a factor in all of the collisions, according to the SQ, and 6 of the collisions involved a motorcycle. Last year was the deadliest construction holiday period on record. 25 people were killed in collisions last summer. Electronic music fans heading to Île Sonique next weekend will only be allowed to enter with clear plastic bags. It's a new measure that takes Osheaga's transparent bag rule a step further. Now, even fanny packs and small handbags will have to be see-through. The festival says it's to speed up the security process and to keep festival goers safe. But bags with medical and childcare supplies do not need to be transparent. Looking across the country now, there's still no word on when WestJet operations will be back to normal after a tentative agreement ended a one-day strike. Flight attendants have 30 days to ratify the agreement. The brief strike affected tens of thousands of passengers after hundreds of flights were canceled. The Wildfire Service in BC says there are 120 active fires burning in the province. The Bradley Creek wildfire north of Kelowna has forced evacuations in several communities, including the Okanagan Indian Band Reserve. And Ottawa's decision to withdraw peacekeepers from UN missions in several African countries is raising concerns. Critics say the cuts don't align with Canada's new Africa strategy or its long-standing peacekeeping traditions. We'll have more national news on CTV News at 5:30.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
A beautiful day, Lauren. The sunshine is back and no rain, which is very welcome.
We definitely needed a win after a slew of active weather, and it certainly has caused some damage. We saw at the top of the show in L'Assomption. And now I want to head to Pointe-aux-Trembles, where there was some active weather that did some damage to some property. We have some visuals of this footage. If we can throw to that, there we go. This is courtesy of one of our viewers, Kong. And look at the size of that tree falling down on a car. This is just a friendly reminder that when Environment and Climate Change Canada issues these watches and warnings, often they talk about the likelihood of a tree possibly falling down. We should always take these watches and warnings seriously. We don't want that to happen to anybody, that is for sure. Thank you for sending that in. Now, let's talk about what we're dealing with temperature-wise today. We were slightly above seasonal. 28 is what we're currently sitting at. That was today's daytime high. It felt like 35 at times. Right now, it feels like 32 out there. We have a pretty straightforward forecast over the next 24 hours. Clear skies overnight, a low of 17 degrees, right around where it should be overnight. Tomorrow, we start the day off with sunshine, and it is like winning the lottery here. We have a beautiful day ahead, and we certainly need that. We're looking at a daytime high tomorrow of 30 degrees, but thanks to the humidity, it'll feel like 35. So another hot one, and that's sort of the trend that we're seeing continue. Summer is far from over. We have a couple of days here where we're seeing our feels like values close to 40. Thursday will feel like 39. There is a chance of a thunderstorm later in the day. I'm going to keep my eye on that for Thursday. Friday, we're looking at the risk of some showers in the evening, but once again, mostly cloudy skies, a high of 29, feeling like 38.
Coming up, the Quebec Liberals banking on a business community leader to bring the party a boost. Plus, what Longueuil police suspect this woman of doing to seniors. Tomorrow will mark exactly 2 months until the next Quebec election. Quebec voters will go to the polls on Monday, October 5th. Joining us now is political analyst Victor Enriquez. Hi, Victor.
Hi, Maya.
So the parties have been unveiling their candidates throughout the summer, and today we learned that someone whose name has been floating around for a while now in political circles will be running for the Liberals, and that's the former head of Montreal's Chamber of Commerce, Michel Leblanc.
So Michel Leblanc is going to be candidate for the Liberals in the riding of Marguerite Bourgeois, who used to be the riding of Fred Beauchemin, who now is going to be in another place down in the Estrie area. So very good news for the Liberals, because Michel Leblanc has been solicited by many parties within the last years, trying to make him a candidate of their team. He's going to come be one of the biggest players of the economic team of Charles Millard, and he's probably going to be the next economic minister, knowing that he has a very strong knowledge of the needs of the enterprise, of the economic situation, and he has very clear ideas on how we could help those enterprises. So a good catch for Charles Millard.
Yeah, and there were even some rumors at one point that Leblanc might run for the mayor of Montreal. So you're certainly right. He's someone who has been highly solicited at different levels. You know, just going back to this idea now that there are 2 months to go until the election, but unofficially, obviously, the parties are already in campaign mode. It seems to me, though, that Christine Fréchette has been particularly active this summer and that we haven't seen the other leaders as much. Is that a fair assessment?
It's totally true, because Christine Fréchette has been trying to maybe make people forget about François Legault. She's been very active in the government part. Now we're going in the election way, in the election side of the calendar, and within the next days, you're going to see the rhythm accelerate. You're going to see more announcements like the one from Michel Leblanc. The Liberals, the CAQ, even PQ and Solidaires will all make their announcements, and you're going to have a crescendo until the start of the election at the end of August. And at that time, we're going to listen to every leader is going to be trying to convince Quebecers. So it's going to be a very active month, the month of August.
Yeah, and maybe people getting back from vacation, you know, la rentrée, if you will, people will start to be paying a little bit more attention.
Yes, and you know, sometimes people are worried in the parties to make sure that they don't talk too much about politics when people are still in vacation. So we're going to see some announcement this week, the next week, but really the strong pre-campaign is going to start on the week of the 17th, because we know that right now Quebecers are still have that vacation feeling, taking some time beside the pool and trying to rest a little bit.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, with about a minute left to go, I just want to quickly turn to federal politics now, because according to a new Nanos poll commissioned for CTV News, there's, quote, no obvious challenger to Prime Minister Mark Carney among current Conservatives. And even past Conservatives, actually, because Stephen Harper's name came up in this. Only 15% believe Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre would have a chance to defeat Carney, and 33% of Canadians say no one can defeat him. What do you make of that?
It just shows that right now Mark Carney is the only one, to the eyes of Canadians, who can negotiate the right way with Donald Trump. Is it going to last? We don't know. But the fact that he has a majority right now at the Chamber of Commerce is going to be a good thing for him. And for Conservatives, they have to think that maybe it's the best thing for them. It's going to be to wait until Donald Trump is not there anymore, because it seems like Canadians have made their choice on who's the best person to negotiate with Donald Trump.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you, as always, Victor. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Still to come, how the city of Montreal is celebrating a historic moment that marked the end of a war. Well, after years of escalating complaints about crime and cleanliness, Montreal City Hall is promising a new chapter for Chinatown. Laurence Brisson-Dubreuil has more.
A vacant lot, a blank canvas. But to city officials, it's the start of something much bigger. The site at Saint-Laurent and René Lévesque could one day become a mix of social housing, community and green space, and businesses. For many community advocates, the vision is encouraging. But some, like Mei Chu, say rebuilding trust will take time.
Developing an entire neighborhood that's over 150 years old is a challenge.
A new Chinatown alliance will help shape what comes next, bringing together residents, merchants, and community organizations. City officials say work is already underway.
That piece of land you're sitting on now is already bought. We've done more in the last 10 months that the previous administration had done in 8 years.
The city is also promising immediate change with a daily cleaning and a redesign of both Saint Laurent and Clark Street. The new alliance holds its first meeting Friday. Community leaders say they want the spirit of the area at the heart of every decision.
Have a concept that can reunite people, that can represent Chinatown on its own.
Preserving that identity through architecture is a priority for the GIA Foundation.
These types of very typical buildings with businesses at the bottom and then like residence or office spaces at the top floors really are ubiquitous in Chinatown.
Others say improving quality of life also means making people feel safer. For years, civil rights group CRAR has been helping residents calling for action on public drug use, vandalism, and other safety issues.
For years, they have not been listened to. They've been forgotten at the expense of their safety and their well-being.
But for Chu, one priority stands above the rest: social housing.
So that, a lot of the vulnerable people, the seniors, the workers of Chinatown who work on minimum wage and who live in Chinatown now can continue to maintain their home in Chinatown.
As the neighborhood gets ready for its annual Chinatown Day celebration Saturday, many say they're ready to embrace change, so long as the neighborhood's history and the people who call it home aren't left behind. Laurence Brisson-Dubreuil, CTV News.
Longueuil police have arrested a woman in connection with a string of burglaries. Mélanie Tanguay is facing charges of theft over $5,000 for 3 separate incidents targeting seniors. Police believe there may be more victims and are asking people to come forward if they believe they had jewelry stolen by a house cleaner. Public health officials say the most recent measles outbreak in Quebec is over. The first cases were reported at the start of the summer. There were 28 cases recorded, suggesting the spread of the virus was limited. For a measles outbreak to be declared over, there must be 32 days since the last infectious case. The last case of measles in Quebec was on July 1st. 325 years ago today, the governor of New France and 39 First Nations signed the Treaty of the Great Peace. It ended nearly 100 years of war, mostly over control of the North American fur trade. An original copy of the treaty dating back to 1701 is currently on display at the Pointe-à-Calière Museum.
This one is a genuine original copy of 1701. Written probably the same day or a few days after the signature of the treaty. So it's really, we are lucky to have this document and so well conserved.
Meantime, Montreal's mayor used the occasion to reaffirm her support for reconciliation. Turning to international news, officials from the U.S. and Qatar say negotiations to reopen the Strait of Hormuz are making progress. Iran's blockade has caused global repercussions and put pressure on the Trump administration to end the war. Still no word, though, on a broader ceasefire deal. 25 U.S. states are suing the Trump administration. They argue the president's latest tariffs on more than 80 countries exceed his legal authority. They allege Trump's claims about forced labor are, quote, a pretext to continue its illegal tariff scheme. Roughly 70,000 out of 72,000 migrants that crossed in Ceuta have returned to Morocco. The migrants crossed into the small Spanish territory in North Africa last week. At least 86 people have died. We'll have more international news on CTV News at 5:30. Up next, the special Diva lottery that could send you to see Celine Dion perform in Paris. Lotto Quebec is giving away 2 all-expenses-paid trips to Paris to see Celine Dion perform on September 25th. Diva in Paris lottery tickets will be on sale for the next 6 weeks. 2 grand prize winners will each receive a pair of concert tickets, round-trip airfare, 4-night stay in Paris, a luggage set, and $5,000 cash. The draw will be held on September 14th. The opening weekend of the National Bank Open was marred by 2 consecutive days of rain delays. Laval native Alexis Galarneau had his first round match postponed from Sunday to Monday, then had to endure 3 more rain delays. The match took 5.5 hours to complete. Galarneau lost 6-4, 6-4. The sun did eventually come out in time for Gabriel Diallo to take the court. The 24-year-old from Villeray came back to defeat France's Kyrian Jacquet 2-1. It's Diallo's first win at his home tournament, and he will be back in action tonight on center court in the second round. Unfortunately, seems like it's going to have good weather for it. You tell us, you're the expert. How is the weather looking for those matches tonight, Lauren?
He's good for tonight. If it was later on this week, I would say it's touch and go. We're keeping a close eye on potential thunderstorm on both Thursday and Friday. But let's talk about the next 24 hours because it's going to be just lovely. Lots of sunshine in the forecast, but on the warmer side. Overnight, we're looking at a low of 17 with clear skies. Sunshine starting early. We're waking up to 19 degrees, seeing a daytime high of 30 tomorrow. Feeling like 35 thanks to that humidity. Once again, sunshine dominating tomorrow's forecast. And I would suggest you make the most of it because we are keeping our eye, as I said, on the potential of a thunderstorm later in the day on both Thursday and Friday. We could see 2 millimeters there and 5 on Friday. We're looking at a high on Thursday of 29, feeling like 35. That humidity increases. On Friday, 29 will feel like 39. And we're not done over the weekend. We have the risk of thunderstorms on both Saturday and Sunday. We could see around 4 millimeters on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. And our temperatures will be below 30 at 28, feeling like 38. So make the most of the nice day tomorrow.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, that's it for us. Mitsumi will be here at 6 o'clock with the latest on the WestJet customers who are still wondering about their travel plans, the Canada-U.S. Trade Minister back in Washington for negotiations, and the whales on the move from Marineland. Now here's Carolyn Jarvis with CTV National News.